before we get into more of that kind of stuff, I want to go back to the COVID conversation.
Yeah.
And just kind of like the Catholic speaker, quote unquote, Catholic celebrity kind of thing. I want to talk to you about that because it's a strange, maybe it's not a strange phenomenon.
It is a strange phenomenon. I have gone through different phases with it. Sometimes.
What does it we mean for those who are watching though? What does it we mean by sort of, I think people, you generally understand what it means. It's,
yeah, here's how I want to put it. Fame, in as much as in Catholic circles, people know who we are. It hit me what fame once, what fame is. It's when people know you and you don't know them.
Interesting, yeah.
And a lot of people know me and I don't know them.
Yeah.
That's a definition of some level of fame or notoriety. And it's weird. It's weird to be known and not know people. Like,
how old are you now?
I'm 51.
When did you start speaking on the theology of the body?
93, 4. I was 24 when I started.
So you've almost been, you've been having this experience for maybe half of your life.
Well, yeah, about half my life.
So for half of your life, you've had the experience of people knowing you and you not knowing them.
Yeah.
Strange, eh?
And there are, you know, in my youth, there was, when I had I was more insecure about my identity. I took some bennies from this that weren't healthy.
Yeah.
And there is a danger, there is a real danger when you spend your life weekend after weekend going to seminars and you are inspiring people and blessing people and they're waiting sometimes over an hour in a line to shake your hand and tell you how much you've blessed them and could you sign my book and can I get a picture with you? It's going to mess with your head. There's
no way out of it.
There's no way out of it. It's going to mess with your head. And you have to learn how to allow that to sanctify you and purify you, or you'll be messed up from it.
What's difficult is we often, I think for the most part, don't know when we're arrogant. We may see something that we do and be shocked by it and wonder if that's a sign of arrogance. But I think almost every human being, if you were like, are you an arrogant person? Unless you're speaking to a holy person, would say, no, if people get to, you know, so how do you know when you've become arrogant? And I ask this because I was talking to somebody here in Steubenville, and they said, hey, my daughter took you to the airport when you were giving a talk here, and she said you were kind of arrogant and standoffish and snobbish, and I was like, oh, shit, like I don't, like, I'm sure I am that, but I'm really good at masking it. I don't know, maybe I was tired, and it just made me think about how when you know someone and they don't know you, when you meet them, however they appear to you in that moment is your perception of them. So if you were having a great day, then the story circulates that Christopher West is a really down-to-earth, good guy, you know? If you had diarrhea and needed to get away from that situation quickly, it's like just a bit of a dick, you know? And it's like, and both are true, but then that story circulates. And I can't tell you how many times, you know, you've heard stories about other speakers or celebrities, you know, and it's really dangerous, you know.
I remember when I realized I was not in a good headspace with my, you know, to whatever degree I have some notoriety. It's when there was some real public criticism of my work, and it sent me in a real tailspin emotionally and personally. And my spiritual director, I've been meeting the same priest for 16, 17 years, and he says, Christopher, if you are looking for your identity in the wrong place, criticism will crush you and praise will inflate you. And you know, if criticism crushes you, that praise also inflates you. Because if you are looking, and he has
two sides of the same coin.
Two sides of the same coin, right? He does the sign language with me. Whenever I'm struggling with where am I looking for my identity, he just goes like this. And I know that means, are you looking horizontally for your identity or are you looking vertically for your identity? Who has the authority to tell us who we are?
God alone.
Only the author of our existence has the authority to tell us who we are. And we're all looking for who am I? Who am I? Somebody tell me who I am. And when we're looking horizontally, praise will inflate us and criticism will crush us. And when I went through that phase, this was 12 years ago or so, there was a real public kind of criticism of my work, and it crushed me in painful ways. And it was a real necessary wake-up call for me and with the people who love me, people close to me, my wife, my kids, my spiritual director, helped me to know where my identity really comes from. It doesn't come from what the public thinks of me. I remember another scene at that time, a mentor of mine, beautiful, beautiful man, Monsignor Lorenzo Albacete. He was a personal friend of Pope John Paul II. And I had the privilege of studying under him at the John Paul II Institute in Washington, D.C. And he became a friend and a mentor to me over 20 years. He died in 2014. But he was following what was going on with this public criticism. And I went to see him, and I was hoping he was kind of going to massage me a little bit just to help me get through it. And he said a few words that just stunned me and pierced me. He said, "Christopher, why do you care?" In other words, why do you care what these people are saying about you? Why do you care what people think of you? And he was a man who did not care. Yeah, he did not give a flying beep.
Give us some examples of that. You've told me in the past, and I just love these stories.
Here's some Albacete stories. He met Karol Wojtyła in 1976. Yeah. He was, Albacete was a priest for the Archdiocese of Washington. He was the theological advisor to Cardinal Baum of Washington, D.C. in the 70s. Cardinal Baum calls him in his office and says, in a few months, I've just learned we have a famous Polish cardinal coming to visit Washington, D.C. to give a series of lectures. I want you to be his driver, and I want you to spend time with him, pick his brain, learn from him. He's a father of the council. He's a brilliant thinker. You need to learn from this man. And Albacete, who's from Puerto Rico, says, sorry, I can't. I have skipped plans to go to Puerto Rico. And Cardinal Baum begged him, please, please, you must change your plans. I want you to spend time with this cardinal. He wasn't going to do it. Finally, long story short, he changes his plans, but the cardinal had to bribe him with first-class tickets to go to Puerto Rico another time. So he drives to the airport in 1976 to pick up Karol Wojtyła. And Albacete's life, he was a mess. He was always disheveled. He was overweight. He was a chain smoker. He would come into class with ashes all over his clerics and mustard or ketchup from whatever he was eating. He had this nasty comb over it, and it would always be like blowing in the wind. There are no smoking signs everywhere, and he's always lighting up. He shows up to pick up Karol Wojtyła, and his car is a mess. There are French fries all over the seat and the floor where Wojtyła is supposed to sit. What kind of person is picking up a famous Polish cardinal and doesn't clean his car?
Doesn't even think to.
Doesn't even think to clean his car. Years later, after Wojtyła is now Pope, and that's a whole other story. When Albacete's watching the TV screen, and they announce Karol Wojtyła, and however many expletives, wow! I couldn't believe. 2 days later, actually, he gets a phone call from Cardinal Baum, who was in the conclave electing John Paul II. And he gets a call a few hours after the conclave, and Cardinal Baum says he wants to see you. Who wants to see me? The Holy Father asked for you personally. I've already booked your tickets. You're coming to Rome. Yeah. Well, in 76, they spent 5 days together, late nights, long conversations, driving to this talk, driving to that talk, unpacking the council, unpacking the state of the church and the world. And Albacete was just soaking it in. And he said, would you write to me, Your Eminence? Can we continue this conversation? I need to think like you. Will you give me books to read? And Wojtyła agreed. So over the next 2 years, Wojtyła is sending him these regular letters, but Albacete, just totally a disorganized human being, never wrote back. 2 days after he's elected Pope, Wojtyła, in his white clerics now, brings Albacete into his office in Rome 2 days after he's elected Pope, and he looks him in the eye. Albacete's tearing up, and he says, I hope now you will return my letters. So years into the pontificate, when they'd be having dinner or something together in Rome, JP2 would joke with Albacete about the French fries in the car when they met. But it's a window into a man who doesn't wear masks, who's not trying to make a good impression.
Yeah.
He's not living some appearance. He's like, this is who I am. And he knew he was loved right there. That's more than any lecture he ever gave in the classroom, all of which were brilliant. But what the impression this man left on me was he had had some encounter with love, with an unconditional love that gave him the freedom to be a mess, a beautiful mess. He was a beautiful mess. And I think that's maybe one of the best compliments we can give or receive. Matt, I'm going to give it to you right now. I know you pretty well.
Yeah.
And you're a beautiful mess. Really, you're a beautiful mess. That's the truth of it.
Thanks.
And we can't really hope for or shouldn't expect more than that. And if you're trying to pretend you're not a mess, you're wearing some kind of mask.
So what do you say, though, to the person who's listening to you right now and they're like, okay, I don't know about that. I mean, surely the point of Christianity isn't to continually realize we're a mess. Isn't it about sanctification? And doesn't sanctification make us less messy?
In a sense, but I'm thinking of Therese here, who says that I am content. She got to the place of realizing, I am content with discovering ever new imperfections in my life every day. I am content. And we could just supply the word mess too, right?
Yeah.
I am content with discovering ever new messes in my life. I remember I was on a retreat, and I would say that's sanctity. Who was it? It was Teresa of Avila who says, you only see the spots on the glass when you hold it up to the light, right? And we hear the saints saying things like, Mother Teresa, I am the most wretched of sinners. And we're like, yeah, right.
It's like the person after a big test at high school was like, I know I'm going to flunk that. You're like, shut up.
Yeah,
shut up. We all know these get straight A's.
But when Mother Teresa said, I am the most wretched of sinners, this was not some
False
pious
humility,
thing she was saying, like I'm supposed to say that. It's because she was holding her glass up to the light.
And she knew she was loved in that. Because without knowing you're loved in that, it would just cripple you.
Exactly.
And what do? Like, if you see your mess absent of the gaze of the loving Father,
you're screwed.
You are either screwed and fall into despair, or you do what I'm sure I do, is you just keep wearing a mask to hide the mess.
Yes. If you are not looking at your mess in mercy, or you're not letting mercy show you your mess, you will either pretend you're not a mess and wear a mask, or you will despair.
Yeah.
A saint.
Or you'll vacillate
between the two.
Yeah,
and I've vacillated between that for years.
Wow.
And the brightest lights in my life, my wife, my spiritual director, Albacetti, these people I knew personally. I mean, JP2 is a bright light. I met him a couple times, but I can't say I had a relationship with JP2. But the people in my life I had relationships with, Albacetti, my wife Wendy, my spiritual director, these three people in particular have helped me, not just in a here, but here, to know, to believe that a saint is not a perfect person. A saint is someone who knows he or she is perfectly loved in all his or her imperfections. Albacetti